In episode 2, Hannah wakes Owen up in the morning because she found the subpoena. She noticed something, that they spelled his name wrong, and he jokes that he thought because of that, he could skip it. But she hammers home just how serious the subpoena is, and how she's amazed that he's only been on the job for a week and he's managed to piss off this many people. They remind him that this is the CIA. This isn't just some class at Georgetown. He's not going to be able to walk in and ace a test. He listens to their advice, he sort of appreciates it, and then he asks Hannah for more Adderall. He then heads into work when he gets a phone call from Max. She's pissed because her associate went to go retrieve the money, but it wasn't there. Owen assures her that he did leave it where she told him to, even though that's a lie, and she knows it's a lie. She calls him out on it. Max then gets into the fact that she's still in prison, and Owen tells her, I'm working on it. This isn't easy. It's not a parking ticket. It's not exactly like I know what classified information you're threatening to reveal here. She reminds him, though, that it's probably not a smart idea to give out that information on an unsecured line, and then she hangs up on him. The first thing Owen does when he gets into work is he heads to the records department. He explains that he ran a name by clandestine services yesterday and nothing popped up, so he needs them to look in the archived files. He gives the guy Max's information, but since this is going to take a while, he heads up to his office and waits for a response. When he gets to the office, he's surprised because both Violet and Lester are waiting for him. They were snooping around his office before he got there. They give him some line of crap about how they're there to support him. It seems like he's in over his head, and they just want to help. Owen thanks him for the offer, and a short while later, everybody heads to the staff meeting. It's Owen's first staff meeting. He has no idea what to expect. In it, Nyland goes around and covertly asks everybody for an update on whatever they're working on. They speak as vague as possible until it comes to Owen. He doesn't give out a lot of information, but he gives out a little bit. And even a little bit is too much. He gets told quickly to knock that off. Nobody wants to be culpable for anything. They don't want to know what anyone's working on if they don't have to. That's why they keep it as vague as possible. So when Owen says something like the Russian mob, everybody pretty much gets up and walks out. With just Owen, Nyland, Lester, and Violet, Nyland asks him, do you have a plan for your asset? And Owen says, no, not yet, but I am working on it and I should have an answer pretty soon. He's really relying on the archives. Unfortunately, when he gets back to his office, he does have an answer from the archives, but it's the fact that it's come up empty. There's no archived information on Max N.L.T.S.Y.P. He's stumped, he needs some advice, and he heads to Giannis. He offers him Hannah's Adderall, but Giannis doesn't actually want it. So, Owen does a pretty bad job of threatening him, and eventually, Giannis just gives in. Owen asks why is it that he can't find any information on his asset. Giannis says, I don't know, man. Someone probably cleaned up their mess. And I'm telling you, you really shouldn't go down this road. If somebody like N.L.T.S.Y.P finds out that you're poking around about their former asset, that's how you end up in a room with a tarp on the floor. He then tells Owen that what he needs is Max's haul file. It's rumored intelligence. It's not a physical file. It's gossip, things that were said in the halls of whatever station she was stationed at. So what Owen's going to have to do is find a case officer that was stationed with her that is willing to talk to him. The conversation between Giannis and Owen gets interrupted when Owen gets some disturbing news. Max N.L.T.S.Y.P got shanked in prison. She's not dead, she's in the infirmary, but it's definitely not a good sign. At first, Owen actually thinks that maybe the CIA did it. He brings it up to Nyland, but Nyland gets offended at the accusation. Nyland's on edge because the senator that subpoenaed Owen is clearly trying to get Nyland to resign in disgrace. He doesn't want to have some scandal, so he commands Owen to get whatever it is he's got going under control. That's going to mean flying to Phoenix and meeting with Max again. Both Max and Owen bribe a guard to get some alone time so they can talk privately. And that's where Max tells Owen that the shanking was at the hands of Talco. Talco was the guy who came up on Owen in the storage unit, opened the bag, his face was completely burned by acid. Well, he's out for retribution. The bad news is he's going to carry on trying to kill Max. Owen then moves on to a question that's been bothering him. Why didn't Max just graymail the agency when she first got over? The way that Owen sees it, Max is exposed as a foreign asset. She can't go home. So she's keeping Owen in the dark because she thinks that if she can control the information that gets out, then she'll get to keep her duplicity a secret. She'll go back to her old life in Belarus. And if she exposes everything, then that door closes forever. But Max says, no, that's not it. Promises were made. I expect to be taken care of because that's what I was told. They then get back to the whole Talco trying to kill her situation, and she tells him that it's on him to negotiate a truce between the two. get Talco off her back. Owen doesn't really think that's in his job description, but he also doesn't have much leverage in the situation. She does, however, give him something. It's a bit of insight. He brings up how he's subpoenaed by this senator who clearly hates his boss. And what Max tells him is, the senator doesn't actually want you to talk on the stand. He wants some dirt on your boss. Give him the dirt, the subpoena goes away. But a week into the job, Owen isn't willing to throw his boss under the bus just quite yet. Right before Owen leaves, Max tells him that she'll get word to Talco about a peace agreement. It's Owen's job to broker it, and then they can go from there. Owen leaves the prison. He checks into a crappy motel. And when he gets in his room, he calls up Violet. He's going to take her up on her offer to help out, even though Violet clearly has ulterior motives. What Owen needs help with is getting his gray mail case moved into the federal system. That way they can protect Max a little bit better. Violet and Lester think this is the perfect opportunity to get somebody in close with Owen that they can use to spy on him. And the person they're going to use is a woman named Amelia. So Violet gets back on the phone and tells Owen about Amelia Salazar, and that maybe Amelia can help him out. And Owen says it sounds like a great idea and he can't wait to get in touch with her. After getting off the phone with Violet, Owen heads to the shady-looking pool at the motel, where there is a woman that clearly just wants to be left alone. She's eating chicken nuggets, but also simultaneously throwing them in the pool. She kind of looks distraught, and for whatever reason, Owen thinks it's the person I want to chat up. They start making a little bit of small talk, and what you learn about her is her dad was killed recently. That's why she's in town. She was really close to her dad, which is why she's not doing all that great. Owen can certainly relate with his dad dying in Afghanistan when Owen was just 12. Eventually, the night wraps up. Owen heads back to his room, and he's surprised because there's Talco. He didn't expect it this quickly. Talco just wants his money, and the good news is Owen knows exactly where it's stashed. Owen drives Talco over to the location of where he stashed the money. While he's doing so, he's trying to get intel on how Talco might know Max. And Talco tells Owen that Max created a niche business when she hit town. But she crossed the line, she took something that didn't belong to her. Talco warns Owen that if he's not careful, Max will betray him too. They then get to the location. Talco gets his money and he heads off. Owen lets Max know that the deal was made. But even with this peace agreement in place, Max can't just take Talco's word for it. She heads to the infirmary. The woman who shanked her is also in the infirmary. She actually got the worst end of that fight. And Max whispers into her ear that she knows this woman has a daughter, and while she won't do anything to her daughter, she will have her entire family killed if she doesn't work as a double agent. What Max wants from her is that if Talco puts another hit on her, she wants to know about it. With a threat like that, and with how calm Max is delivering it, the woman has no choice but to agree. The next day, Owen flies home, and he's surprised because when he gets to his apartment, Hannah's just getting out of the shower. They didn't expect to see each other. After the initial shock of, what are you doing here? They start making small talk about how jobs are going. And then that segues into how Hannah's actually worried about him. She doesn't want to admit it, but she is. She's worried that he's making extreme choices, and the excuse that he always uses is he wants to prove his mother wrong. And what she's really worried about is that the CIA is going to amplify his worst instincts. She knows there are safer jobs that would pay Owen a fortune, but Owen points out that Hannah isn't happy doing that. She's miserable. That's when Hannah makes a joke about how the Senate misspelled his name in a subpoena, and the light bulb goes off in Owen's head. He races into work, heads to the archives, and explains to the guy that, yeah, they probably cleared Max N.L.T.S.Y.P's name, but they might not have cleared misspellings. Owen gives the guy a list of 100 ways you could misspell Max N.L.T.S.Y., and he wants to search them all. It's a long shot, but it just might bear fruit. He then heads upstairs while he waits for the results to meet with Amelia for the first time. He introduces himself, he shuts the door, but the meeting isn't exactly as he expected. Violet did, in fact, let Amelia know that he would be stopping by, but what Violet told Amelia was that Owen would be interested in dating. So Amelia tells Owen, I'm going to need romance. Not a lot, I don't have time for anything serious, but you're going to have to put in some effort if we're dating. Luckily, Owen's pretty quick thinking on his feet. He realizes that Amelia isn't going to help him for nothing, so he just goes along with it, agreeing to take her out to dinner whenever she wants, basically. Playing along. He then gets into the real reason why he showed up, getting Max's case federal so that the charges could be dropped if need be. Amelia assures Owen that she'll get right on it, takes down Max's information, and sends Owen on his way. When he gets back to his office, the guy from Archives is waiting for him. While all of those names pretty much struck out, there was one that hit. It doesn't have a lot of information in it, but what it does have is a case officer's name that isn't redacted. At least it's something Owen can go on. He finds out that this case officer is stationed in Vienna, so he heads to Nyland's office and says, "Sir, I gotta go there. This is a conversation you don't want to risk getting intercepted." Nyland gives him the okay to go, but does warn him to be careful this time. He tells Owen that Vienna is the Espionage Olympics. It's where every foreign intelligence agency sends their all-stars, so you gotta be on the lookout and high alert. Now that he got the clearance to go to Vienna, he's going to need his black passport. He heads to the proper channels to find out where he can get it, and he finds out that it was delivered 5 days ago. And that's news to him. There's only been 3 people that have been in his office in those 5 days. Himself, Violet, and Lester. So he decides to go snooping through their office to find it. They walk in, see what he's doing, start questioning him, and that's when he locates his black passport under a bunch of files. Violet lies and says it must have been delivered by mistake, but it was clearly not a mistake. Now that he clearly caught them lying and stealing his passport, he needs something from them, setting up an identity that he can use in Vienna. They tell him how to set one up. He's going to be going to Vienna as a diplomat. Specifically, he's going as a temporary legal attaché for the State Department. All he has to do is walk into the lobby and someone will hand him his key. So that's exactly what Owen does. Walk into the lobby, making eye contact because he's not sure who's going to hand him his key. And eventually somebody walks up, hands him a key, and a note on where to meet. When he gets settled into his room, he heads to the location of where he's going to have this meeting. But Nyland was right. Owen doesn't even realize he's being watched closely. He gets a phone call from the case officer that he's supposed to meet who warns him that he is being followed, and they have to go to the embassy to talk, privately. He starts questioning this case officer, who's named Xander, on his interactions in Belarus. Owen then moves into asking Xander if he's familiar with the name Max N.L.T.S.Y.P. While Xander is very familiar with Max N.L.T.S.Y.P, and we'll get into that in a second, he plays it off like he only heard of her once or twice. When Owen explains that he's trying to find Max's Hall file, Xander sits back and tells Owen Belarus and Russia are mafia states. The mob provides the muscle for whatever the political elites ask for. Keeping those elites happy was Max's specialty. That is why she was such a valuable asset for the U.S. Owen then asks about who Max's handler was, and Xander says she was between handlers. That's not normal, but according to Xander, when he first arrived, Max's handler had dropped dead of a heart attack. Shortly after that, Max left Belarus. She just pissed off the wrong person in the mob. It takes a little bit for Owen to get this information out of Xander, but Xander does eventually tell Owen that what he heard was that she was able to run her own network. This is completely shocking to Owen. Max didn't even have a hard file. But if this information is true, it means she knows the identities of most, if not all, of the spies in Belarus and Russia. Last question that Owen has for Xander is who set Max up in the United States, and Xander lies and says he has no idea. It was actually him. He's the one who set Max up 5 years ago. Xander tries playing it off like he barely knew Max, and Owen actually catches him in a lie. He's suspicious of Xander. He feels like Xander knows Max way better than he's playing it off. The next day, as Owen is heading out of his hotel back to the airport, he calls Max up in a little victory lap, telling her, "I know what you're trying to expose." Max asks Owen, "Who did you meet with? Because the secrets I know are worth killing for." But Owen's not about to just give up that name. Owen then realizes that the cab that he got into isn't exactly a cab. The driver's license that's posted is of an old man, but the cab driver's a woman. He starts getting nervous, and when he tells Max this, she tells him that it's an assassin. Owen's going to have to kill this person or he's going to get killed himself. The idea of killing anybody makes Owen very uncomfortable, but Max was right. The woman pulls out a gun, tries to kill Owen, and he chokes her with her seatbelt. He doesn't kill her, but he is able to get away. Eventually, though, this assassin, along with another one, corner Owen on the street, and he has no choice but to jump in a river to get away. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.